of you. Today I'm here to present my research paper titled Getting Ready for Gen Z, a conceptual analysis of employee engagement. Before I begin, I want to thank the organizing team of this conference by the name International Conference on Economic Business, Tourism and Social Sciences. So I'm thankful to them that they accepted my paper and given me an opportunity to present my research work. So I begin by giving a brief snapshot of my biographical profile. At present, I'm working as assistant professor in Department of Management, BITS Pilani in Rajasthan, India, and I have done PhD in Human Resource Management from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. And prior to that, I did my MBA in Human Resource Management and Marketing from Jamia Millia Islamia. It's a central university in New Delhi. And I also did my graduation BSc Biotechnology from the same university, Jamia Millia Islamia. So moving onwards to my current research paper. So this is the agenda for this presentation. So I'll start off with brief introduction, a brief overview of my research, and then I'll try to define Generation Z. Then, of course, my research objectives, followed by the concept of a strategic leadership, conceptual framework, discussion and implications, limitations and conclusion and limitations, and finally conclusions and references. So this is a background information for this research. So why we are conducting this research. So as we all are aware of the present pandemic of COVID-19, and we all know that industries and different companies from regardless of their sectors and nature of the work, they all are facing the heat of this COVID-19 pandemic, and many organizations are facing a huge number of challenges. And out of those challenges, people management challenges are definitely quite significant ones. And one such challenge from people management is on employee engagement. That is, during this pandemic, it has been observed worldwide that employees are not feeling engaged. They are exhibiting high levels of disengagement, and the current research justify signify the same. Both in the context of India as well as across the globe. Largely, the companies are facing this issue of higher disengagement. So, this is why we are trying to focus on employee engagement, but at the same time, we are primarily emphasizing on Gen Z segment. So, Gen Z are the employees who are born between the year 1996 to the year 2010, and they have a unique set of expectations. They have a distinct psychological profile in which they have a set of workplace needs and expectations, or you can say workplace preferences. So I have jotted down few important ones. First and foremost, they have a strong tendency to use technology both in their personal lives as well as their professional lives. So definitely they look forward to an organization wherein they can have access to technological tools. Moving onwards, they also want to work in teams. They are collaborative in nature. They want to work for an organization that can offer them a chance to be innovative, and you can say wherein they can take risks, and which an organization which might foster autonomy, or you can say challenging work or meaningful task. At the same time, they also seek a transparent communication, and you can say participative decision making. So this is what they Gen Z as a generation, they always look for. And if an organization can offer these sort of, you can say, can offer an environment in which such sorts of needs are being fulfilled, then definitely Gen Z can be satisfied and it can feel engaged and motivated. So now, why we are studying Gen Z's engagement? Why studying employee engagement for Gen Z is significant? So as you can see, the past research simply indicates that yes, Gen Z is disengaged with work. So definitely there is a scope for doing academic research in which we need to come up with a strategy wherein we can enhance their employee engagement. At the same time, different generations work together at the workplace, be it baby boomers, be it Gen X, and all these generations, they have a unique, you can say, psychological profile. They always look for certain needs they want to satisfy. They have their own working styles, and so, or all in all, we can say they have their own unique engagement drivers. So at the same time, based on the Gen Z's psychological profile, we can explore certain engagement drivers with the help of which we can enhance their engagement, and we can combat this challenge of growing disengagement levels. So these are the main objectives of this research, that we want to examine engagement of Gen Z employees. And at the same time, we want to propose a conceptual framework with strategic leadership as the main construct to enhance employee engagement. So, what is strategic leadership? So, definitely it's an approach of leadership. Rather, it's an emerging style of leadership in which we focus on those leadership positions in which those leaders they have an orientation towards not only short-term context but as well as for the long-term context. So they pay attention to both short-term financial stability, at the same time they do have a focus towards long-term viability. So it's like they want to create a trade-off between both the long-term, you can say, vision as well as the short-term focus. And one more important aspect of strategic leadership is that they always tend to focus upon intangible resources of an organization, which we can say primarily human capital or its employees or workforce. So they have a tendency to focus on that employees in the organization, and they always want to create a culture which can foster employee development. And because of this factor, strategic leadership can be explored as an intervention to engage Gen Z at the workplace. This is our conceptual framework. So at one hand we have this strategic leadership, and then on the right hand side we have this employee engagement. So we have three dimensions each for both strategic leadership as well as employee engagement. In strategic leadership we have this uh, you can say organizational learning, social capital, and vision articulation. So organizational learning, as per our conceptual framework, organizational learning will lead to your emotional engagement. That means once an organization is given an opportunity to given opportunities to its employees, so that they can feel that they are learning, they are enhancing their competencies, they are getting trained. So in that context, it will enhance their emotional engagement, with the help of which they will have positive emotions, positive moods, and positive feeling towards the organization. Same way, once we have this social capital, with the help of strategic leadership, it creates a culture in which employees feel connected. They have a sense of belongingness with the organization. They can create good number of connections. They can do networking. They can develop bonds or ties, you can say. With based on this, they will feel more of physically engaged, or rather, you can say behavioral engagement will be there. Same way, once strategic leadership, as we already mentioned, they have a focus towards long-term vision of the company. So once they create that vision, and at the same time, they also try to communicate that vision to the employees by and large. So in that way, once employees are getting aware of this vision, so they will feel more connected, more committed to the organization, and or you can say in the process of it, as an outcome, they will feel cognitively engaged. With cognitive engagement basically means that once an employee is aware about his or her own goals as well as the larger organizational objectives, then there are fair chances of employee feeling cognitively engaged. So this is what our typical model talks about, that as an outcome we want to engage employees based on these three dimensions, and on the basis of strategic leadership and its three dimensions we want to engage Gen Z. So, as we all are already aware of that, these days we have a multi-generational diverse workforce in which employees of different generations work together. So, in that way, one recommendation for the organization is that you cannot simply think of a one-size-fits-all approach. That means no one single, there can be no utopian solution. There can be no one single strategy that might equally be appealing to every workforce segment. You need to customize. You need to come up with a personalized strategy wherein you can target each and every individual, or you can say maybe specific generations, and accordingly based on their own profile of generational employees, you can come up with a different strategy. At the same time, a framework simply suggests that these three dimensions of strategic leadership will definitely have a role to play in influencing the overall employee engagement levels of employees. Further, it is confirmed by extant research that relationship building, trust building, or you can say the way top leaders and followers they interact, all these you can say relational aspects of workplace will definitely you can say influence engagement levels. So in that way as well, our model to an extent is supported by the extant research. Finally, grounded on SET is a theory called social exchange theory. So based on this tenets of social exchange theory, once employees perceive that yes, we are getting learning opportunities from the organizational leaders are supporting us, and our competencies are being enhanced. So in that way, they will feel obliged to repay the benefits they are gaining from the organization, and in lieu of it, they will feel more engaged and they will give their best to the organization. So this is what we call it as a reciprocal response from the employees. So this way, we can enhance their engagement. So this theoretical article which we have written is it does have some sort of theoretical implications as well as some practical or managerial implications. So Gen Z is primarily one of the upcoming topics in multi-generational literature, and not much scholarly research has been done which has been published in peer-reviewed journals. So definitely it will contribute to the literature on Gen Z, and in particular its linkage between strategic leadership and Gen Z, and of course engagement of Gen Z. So in that way, it's a logical contribution to the emerging literature on these aspects. Also, it's a first attempt to propose a holistic model in which we are trying to enhance employee engagement of Gen Z. When it comes to managerial implications, first and foremost, it gives insights to HR professionals on Gen Z needs and motivators, or you can say what all are the Gen Z working styles, their needs, their expectations, their preferences, their ideas, their perspectives. So all this stuff, which we call it as psychological profile of Gen Z, will be made aware of the HR professionals. The conceptual framework is definitely a valuable one because it gives you certain sort of, you can say, recommendation to come up with a new engagement strategy that is appealing to Gen Z. Furthermore, it is pertinent given the present challenge of Gen Z engagement across the global HR community. So, as I mentioned earlier, that the entire HR community or entire organizations across the globe, they are facing this challenge of employee engagement. And as the research literature indicates, Gen Z in itself is quite low when it comes to engagement. So, definitely, this research is more relevant in this context. Finally, the major limitation of this research article is that this is theoretical in nature. We do not have any data to support this research, so it's a conceptual one. But we want to, we want to recommend future researchers to empirically validate or refute our conceptual framework based on data. So they might go for some cross-sectional studies or maybe longitudinal ones, and then they can simply validate or refute our conceptual framework. Also, I think future researchers are advised to maybe they can look for some other emerging leadership approaches like ethical leadership, empowering leadership, or maybe adaptive leadership, and they can also try to explore what these leadership styles, whether or not they have certain impact on engagement of Gen Z, or maybe they can test some other Gen Z work attitudes. Finally, to conclude, we can mention that the proposed conceptual framework highlights strategic leaders' behaviors of facilitating organizational learning, developing social capital, and of course, articulating the vision, which might go in the long run, which might evoke physical, cognitive, as well as emotional engagement of Gen Z employees. Strategic leadership can be conceived as a vital intervention to bolster Gen Z engagement levels as per a conceptual framework, because uh, strategic leaders' behaviors, especially relational behaviors, will definitely add to the engagement levels of Gen Z. So these are some references, and this is it from my side. And once again, I'll uh, express my gratitude towards the organizers of this conference, and I hope maybe in the future as well I get an opportunity to present my research work in this conference. So thank you so much.